Hello friends. Have you ever met two people who seemed to sizzle with energy the moment they locked eyes, not because they were similar, but because their differences ignited something rare? That's what it feels like when an Aries snake and a Leo horse cross paths. Sparks fly, but are those sparks the beginning of a lifelong fire, or a dangerous blaze waiting to burn out? Let's break it down, piece by piece: love, marriage, sex, friendship, business, even the darker shades of this duo. By the end of this story, you'll know whether this cosmic couple is fated for greatness or destined for a dramatic split. Love, the charged collision. From the very first glance, Aries snake and Leo horse don't meet, they ignite. The chemistry is undeniable, but it doesn't follow the expected script of romance. It's not flowers and long walks under the moonlight. It's an intensity that burns hot and fast, forcing both signs to confront parts of themselves they rarely share with others. When they're around each other, even silence feels loaded, like something's about to happen. Something important, something irreversible. The Leo horse approaches love like he's running into a carnival, wide-eyed, thrilled, fully committed to the moment. He's a performer at heart, and romance is his stage. He shows affection loudly and proudly, with spontaneous texts at midnight, expensive surprises, maybe even a sudden trip to a city neither of them has seen. He wants his heart to be heard, felt, seen, not just privately but publicly. He wants love that others envy. Aries snake, on the other hand, is a paradox of emotional mystery. She feels deeply but filters constantly. Before she lets herself fall, she studies. She's not one to hand over her vulnerability like it's on sale. Love, for her, must be earned, and even then, she's cautious. Her romantic style is strategic. She'll test you with silence, tease you with logic, and flirt through layered challenges that feel more like puzzles than pickup lines. To her, love isn't fireworks. It's an underground fire, long-burning, slow-moving, intensely real. This difference in pace and style creates a beautiful tension. Leo is open, impulsive, transparent. Aries snake is contained, sharp, elusive. She sees his big heart and bold moves, and while she may seem amused or even unimpressed at first, deep down, she's intrigued. Who is this person unafraid to express so much? Why is he so different from her? And could he possibly match her in wit and warmth? Leo, meanwhile, is both drawn to and frustrated by her emotional armor. At first, her mystery excites him. He wants to solve her. He wants to be the one who gets past her defenses, the chosen one. But as time goes on, if she stays too emotionally distant, he starts feeling rejected. Not overtly, but subtly. And Leo hates subtle rejection. It feels like humiliation wearing a polite smile. Yet, what makes this attraction endure is the dynamic underneath. The Leo horse wants admiration, but he also wants stability. The Aries snake isn't flashy in her love, but she builds, carefully, intentionally. Once committed, she's loyal and protective, with a rare ability to make Leo feel like the king he wants to be, not with flattery, but through quiet loyalty and fierce emotional intelligence. She sees him, often more than he sees himself. And for Leo, that's a new kind of high. Aries snake loves autonomy. Leo horse thrives on attention. At first glance, these desires clash. But the irony is, when they're in sync, they fulfill each other's unmet emotional needs in surprising ways. Leo teaches her to play, to stop overthinking, to enjoy the now. He brings sunshine to her cool detachment. Aries snake, in return, teaches him how to protect his energy. To say no. To trust silence. Her presence calms his storm, not by softening him, but by anchoring him. That said, their path to love is not always smooth. Aries snake doesn't respond well to pressure. The more Leo pushes for constant reassurance, the more she'll retreat into icy emotional minimalism. And when she withdraws, Leo panics. He senses abandonment, even if none was intended. Then comes the drama, not explosive, emotional. Quiet, aching tension, misread texts, emotional standoffs, weeks of "I'm fine" that aren't fine at all. But when they're both emotionally evolved, when they choose to lean into each other instead of their fear, magic happens. He becomes more patient. He stops needing constant applause because he feels deeply seen. She becomes more open. She risks showing vulnerability because she trusts she won't be judged or controlled. They're not the couple that blends quietly into a crowd. They're the couple who sparks conversation wherever they go. People wonder, how do they work? And that's the thing, they work because they don't follow the rules. They write their own script. And it's one of late-night debates, whispered secrets, intense eye contact, and sudden laughter. In love, Aries Snake and Leo Horse aren't comfortable, they're alive. They don't just date, they challenge, they provoke, they transform. It's not about soft romance. It's about evolution through intimacy. They are not soulmates in the romantic novel sense. They're soul forgers, lovers who burn through their egos and emerge sharper, stronger, more human. So if you ask, is this love story easy? The answer is no. But is it worth it? Absolutely. Marriage, the flame that needs fuel. Fast forward past the infatuation, the charged courtship, and the sparks that once flew just by sitting across from each other at dinner. Now it's mornings with unbrushed hair, shared calendars, meal planning, missed calls, and late-night discussions about mortgage payments or vacation budgets. It's the phase where love meets logistics, and this is where many relationships either evolve or unravel. For an Aries Snake and a Leo Horse, marriage is a high-stakes game of emotional chess, with bursts of romantic theater thrown in. They are not the couple who glides into routine easily. Monotony isn't their style, but unless they learn how to sustain the emotional fire that brought them together, they risk confusing friction for passion and silence for peace. Leo Horse, by nature, needs to feel adored. Not simply loved, adored. He thrives on verbal affection, eye contact, surprise gestures, and moments that remind him he's still the star of someone's show. It's not vanity, it's fuel. His emotional engine runs on acknowledgement. Even a simple, "You did great today," or "You still drive me wild," fills his cup more than he'll ever admit. Without those consistent hits of admiration, he begins to doubt. First himself, then the relationship, and that doubt can quietly metastasize into bitterness. Aries Snake, meanwhile, doesn't give affection on demand. Her love is real, but measured. She doesn't hand out gold stars for basic behavior. In her world, praise is earned through consistency, depth, and loyalty. She can come off as emotionally distant when, in reality, she's just protecting her inner world. She prefers to show love through acts of service, intelligent conversation, or subtle glances that speak volumes. But the Leo Horse may miss those cues entirely. He wants to hear it, loud, proud, and often. Here's where the disconnect begins. He thinks she's growing cold. She thinks he's needy. Left unaddressed, this leads to quiet resentment. Leo feels unappreciated, and instead of expressing that vulnerably, he may start becoming boastful or flirtatious with others just to get a reaction. Aries Snake sees this as emotional immaturity and starts emotionally detaching, subtly, but with increasing finality. At its worst, their marriage becomes a performance of roles neither one auditioned for. He's acting like a child demanding praise, and she's responding like a frustrated parent withholding approval. Neither one feels romantic anymore. They feel responsible for each other's unmet needs, a burden instead of a blessing. But, and this is important, if they catch themselves before they spiral, there's incredible hope. When Leo Horse begins to recognize that Aries Snake doesn't withhold love, but expresses it differently, he becomes more attuned to subtler forms of intimacy. He starts noticing the way she refills his coffee without asking, or how she remembers the story he told 3 months ago and brings it up when it matters. He learns to value the depth of her love, not just the visibility of it. And Aries Snake, once she sees how deeply words matter to him, begins to lean into verbal affirmation, not because it's her style, but because it nurtures someone she respects. She learns to say, "I'm proud of you," even if it feels awkward at first. Not performatively, but intentionally. Because she's chosen this man, and to keep him, she has to speak a language he understands. Marriage is also a space where both signs need room to breathe. Leo Horse, though gregarious, needs freedom. He cannot be micromanaged. Aries Snake, while loyal, needs mental independence. she cannot be controlled. If one tries to cage the other, even emotionally, rebellion is guaranteed. For example, if Leo starts making decisions without including her, assuming she'll go with it, she'll silently withdraw, and may never fully return. Likewise, if Aries Snake tries to dominate decisions through logic and analysis, dismissing his emotional responses as irrational, Leo will grow passive-aggressive or explosively defensive. These moments can become tipping points if not handled with care. They must learn to co-lead, to check in, not check up, to make decisions together, even if one naturally leads more often. They also must build rituals that reflect their definition of intimacy. Maybe it's a monthly trip to somewhere new, even if it's just a park. Maybe it's long, luxurious debates over wine. Maybe it's a weekly creative night where they collaborate on something, a business, an art piece, or a wild idea they both want to chase. These shared rituals keep the fire alive without needing constant drama. And let's be honest, these two do have a flair for drama. Sometimes they fight not to resolve, but to feel something. And in those moments, they must ask, is this about us, or about needing an emotional jolt? Emotional regulation is vital, not suppression, understanding. They must learn when to fight, and when to hug it out. When to argue, and when to say, let's revisit this after we've both cooled off. When they get this right, when balance is found, something astonishing happens. They become a couple who moves through life like co-royals, bold, creative, independent, but united. People admire how they challenge each other without breaking one another. They become proof that love doesn't have to mean losing yourself. It can mean finding a stronger, braver version of who you are. They host incredible dinner parties. They raise sharp, emotionally intelligent children. They support each other's dreams, even if those dreams diverge. They grow, evolve, argue, laugh, and inspire. Because they understand that marriage is not a final destination, it's a co-authored journey. And every chapter demands intention. So no, Aries Snake and Leo Horse don't have an easy marriage. But they have one that matters. One with impact. One that others quietly study, trying to figure out the secret recipe. And the truth? There is no secret, just fire, and the courage to keep feeding it. Sex, dangerously good. Let's not sugarcoat it. The sexual connection between an Aries Snake and a Leo Horse doesn't simmer, it erupts. From the very beginning, even before a single touch, there's a magnetic undercurrent between them that feels almost cinematic. The eye contact lingers longer than usual. The conversation flirts with tension. The room feels hotter when they're alone. Their chemistry isn't polite or tender, it's charged. And the charge doesn't fade with time. It intensifies, deepens, and occasionally combusts. Aries Snake, in bed, is a master of anticipation. She doesn't give everything away at once. She builds a mood with intention, setting the tone with whispers, subtle movements, and psychological cues. Her version of seduction is mental first, a chess game of desire where she's always 3 moves ahead. She knows when to take the lead, when to pull back, and exactly how to turn silence into foreplay. There's an art to her sensuality. It's never rushed, never chaotic, always deliberate. She prefers quality over quantity and requires emotional alignment to fully unlock her passion. Leo Horse, on the other hand, approaches sex with the wildness of a fireworks show. He's generous, intense, and deeply expressive. He doesn't just want to have sex, he wants to perform it, feel it, leave a mark. He's vocal, physical, and utterly focused on creating an unforgettable experience. But it's not just about pleasure for him, it's about admiration. He wants to be remembered, desired, worshipped. If Aries Snake is a whisper in the dark, Leo Horse is the lightning strike that follows. Together, they create a dynamic that's both complementary and competitive. There's an unspoken duel every time they're together. Who will drive the other wilder? Who can maintain control the longest before surrendering? And yet, it's not about dominance for its own sake. It's about pushing each other to deeper places, emotionally and physically. This is the kind of couple that turns sex into an exploration of power, of trust, of fantasy. One night might be about teasing and delay, the next about full surrender. Role play, sensory play, slow burns, and intense peaks. It's all possible because they both have the imagination and confidence to try. And when they're emotionally aligned, their bedroom becomes less a room and more a temple, where ego dissolves and connection becomes sacred. But, and it's a big but, this connection is fragile. Not physically, emotionally. When Leo horse starts to feel emotionally starved, if he senses he's no longer adored or admired, he might begin using sex as a form of validation. He'll put on a show, turn up the drama, push for intimacy not because he wants closeness, but because he fears distance. And Aries Snake, she senses emotional misalignment like a sixth sense. If she feels that sex has become performative rather than connective, she withdraws. Not overtly, but subtly. Her desire begins to fade. The fire turns cold, and fast. What was once intoxicating becomes routine. The intensity starts to feel forced. And then, dangerous territory opens. Boredom, frustration, and potential wandering eyes. Leo, needing affirmation, might flirt outside the marriage. Aries, craving depth, might retreat into fantasy or secrecy. Neither necessarily wants to cheat, but both may find themselves starving in a feast of form without substance. This is why communication is everything. When they talk openly, not just about logistics, but about desire, fears, and fantasies, they rediscover each other. They reconnect through honesty. Leo learns that being adored doesn't always look like a standing ovation. Sometimes it's silent trust. Aries learns that vulnerability isn't weakness, and sometimes, surrendering control in bed leads to deeper emotional power. In their best moments, they move in perfect sync, raw and refined, playful and profound. Sex becomes more than release. It becomes rebirth. Their bodies speak truths they haven't said aloud. They use each other to touch places inside themselves that only emerge in moments of true surrender. This is not surface-level sex. This is archetypal, mythic, explosive and transformative. But sustaining that intensity requires effort. They must be vigilant. They must never take the fire for granted. Small gestures matter. Eye contact that says, "I still want you." A hand on the lower back during dinner. A shared secret smile across a crowded room. These are the invisible threads that keep their physical connection alive even when life gets heavy or chaotic. Because when life gets real, bills, work, parenting, aging, desire doesn't die, it simply goes underground. And this couple knows how to dig deep. In truth, for Aries Snake and Leo Horse, sex isn't just a pleasure, it's a language. A battlefield, a sanctuary, a mirror. And when they respect it, when they feed it, when they meet each other not just with their bodies but with their full, present selves, there is nothing more dangerously good. Friendship, unlikely, but legendary. When Aries Snake and Leo Horse step into a room as friends, something unusual happens. People take notice. There's an undeniable energy between them, but it's not romantic tension, at least not overtly. It's the kind of kinetic synergy that feels like watching two opposing elements find balance: fire and earth, speed and silence, charisma and calculation. On the surface, they don't look like an obvious friendship match. One is loud, radiant, expressive. The other is internal, measured, mysterious. And yet, somehow, their differences aren't divisive, they're magnetic. Leo Horse is the kind of friend who calls with a new idea every other day. He wants to start a podcast, plan a spontaneous weekend in Vegas, adopt a dog, or build a jungle gym for a neighbor's kids, all before lunch. He's a bolt of energy, a natural motivator, and someone who sees life as a performance to be enjoyed, not just endured. His friendships are often loud, joyful, and built around movement and momentum. Aries Snake is a quieter presence. Not cold, just discerning. She doesn't rush into friendships or spill secrets over coffee with someone she's known for 5 minutes. But when she chooses someone, it's intentional. And Leo? He earns her curiosity. His fire doesn't scare her, it fascinates her. His emotional transparency, which might overwhelm others, becomes a source of entertainment and even admiration for her. She loves how openly he exists in the world. And he, in turn, is enchanted by how much she says without speaking. They balance each other in surprising ways. Leo calls her when he's spiraling over something that probably doesn't matter, and she grounds him instantly. One perfectly timed sentence from her, often dry, direct, and laced with dark humor, can deflate his anxiety faster than meditation. And when Aries Snake gets too comfortable in her solitude, her plans, her ever-curated bubble of control, it's Leo who kicks the door open. "You've been thinking for too long," he'll say. "Let's do something." And she'll grumble, but follow. What makes their friendship legendary isn't just chemistry, it's collaboration. They don't waste time gossiping or dwelling in shallow conversations. Instead, they build. These two are side hustle soulmates. Want to start a business? Write a screenplay? Plan a pop-up art show? Leo brings the people, the hype, the charm. Aries brings the framework, the design, the plan. Together, they execute. Their friendship has momentum, direction, vision. It never stagnates. There's also profound mutual respect. Aries Snake might tease Leo for his dramatics, but deep down, she's in awe of his courage, the way he risks embarrassment in service of joy. And Leo? He admires her restraint. Her mystery doesn't intimidate him. It pulls him closer. He calls her a genius, sometimes half-jokingly, but it's rooted in truth. He knows she sees things no one else sees. And when she gives him advice, he listens. Not because he always agrees, but because he knows it's coming from a place of real insight, not performance. But this beautiful friendship has one potential Achilles heel: history. If they were ever romantically involved, the lines blur fast. Aries Snake doesn't compartmentalize ex-lovers well. She may appear stoic, but emotional depth runs silently beneath her surface. Pretending things are normal after intimacy doesn't sit well with her. She either burns the bridge or builds a wall. There's rarely an in-between. And Leo? He's the nostalgic type. He might suggest rekindling, innocently, playfully, not realizing that one harmless night could reopen emotional wounds she's spent years sealing. This is where things can get messy. If Leo tries to return to their friendship like nothing happened, Aries might smile, nod, and quietly shut the door behind him forever. She doesn't do emotional ping-pong. Her version of closure is silence. If boundaries aren't respected, the friendship may not survive. But in purely platonic dynamics, when no romance clouds the field, they're iconic. Think Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, Oprah and Gail, Holmes and Watson, brains and boldness, vision and voice, the kind of friendship that doesn't just entertain, but elevates. Their connection isn't always easy. They challenge each other. They disagree often, but there's trust in the disagreement. Aries Snake doesn't soften her truth for anyone, but Leo Horse doesn't crumble in the face of honesty. And Leo might explode emotionally on occasion, but Aries doesn't personalize his storm. She sees it, contains it, and then tells him he's being ridiculous over dinner. They rarely get jealous of each other's successes. Instead, they celebrate. Leo beams when Aries wins, even if she downplays it. And Aries quietly feels proud when Leo's passion brings him into the spotlight, even if she teases him about his flair. There's laughter, so much of it, often rooted in their differences. She finds his drama hilarious. He finds her deadpan delivery brilliant. Their inside jokes could fill a book. And in moments of pain, they show up, not always in the same way. Leo arrives with food and warmth. Aries arrives with solutions and presence. But they're there. In the end, Aries Snake and Leo Horse prove that friendship doesn't require similarity. It requires chemistry, respect, and a shared commitment to growth. Together, they don't just pass the time. They build something rare, something real. And that's what makes their friendship not just good, but legendary. Business, powerhouse or power struggle? Can an Aries Snake and a Leo Horse build a business empire together? Not only can they can build one with flair, style, and an intimidating edge of precision. But it doesn't come gift-wrapped in harmony. Their partnership will either take over an industry or blow up in boardroom drama. Why? Because power is their shared addiction, and learning how to share it is the real test. Leo Horse enters the business world like he enters a stage, spotlight ready, brimming with passion, charm, and vision. He's the living, breathing elevator pitch. In a room full of competitors, he's the one everyone remembers. He sells not just products but dreams. His charisma turns skeptics into believers, and he knows how to inspire a team like a general before battle. There's nothing subtle about the Leo horse in a leadership role. His energy is expansive, his instincts fast, and his ability to win people over? Unmatched. Aries Snake, by contrast, operates from the shadows, but don't mistake her for passive. She's the mind behind the empire, the architect of the entire machine. Her genius lies in understanding systems, patterns, timing. Where Leo charges in, she calculates. Where he inspires, she interrogates. She's a master strategist who sees 5 steps ahead and anticipates market shifts before the competition knows what hit them. While Leo is outselling the vision, she's making sure it's bulletproof. Together, they have all the ingredients for a legendary business team: visionary leadership, meticulous planning, boundless energy, and killer instincts. But the key word is together, and that's where things get tricky. Because neither of them is naturally inclined to take the backseat. Leo horse thrives in the spotlight, yes, but he also needs it. If he starts feeling like Aries Snake is quietly making all the real decisions behind his back or second-guessing his judgment, his pride takes a hit. He'll interpret her calculated detachment as criticism, and his natural confidence might twist into defensiveness. He might start ignoring her insights just to prove he's the alpha, a dangerous game when playing with an Aries Snake. Aries Snake, on the other hand, doesn't care about praise or public credit. But she does demand control, especially over things that matter. If Leo starts improvising, skipping over the details, or trying to fast-track a process she's spent weeks engineering, she doesn't react with drama. She reacts with precision. She'll shut it down, redirect, or, worse, silently begin planning her exit. She doesn't throw tantrums, she replaces people. If unchecked, their business dynamic becomes a battlefield of passive resistance and emotional outbursts. Leo grandstands. Aries pulls strings from behind the curtain. Meetings feel tense, decisions stall, and resentment festers. They stop trusting each other, and the company pays the price. But here's where it gets exciting. When they do trust each other, when they stay in their lanes and honor each other's genius, they are virtually unstoppable. Leo horse belongs at the front, pitching to investors, rallying the team, delivering TED Talks, charming the press. He's the magnetic face of the brand. The kind of founder people follow not because they have to, but because they want to. He brings the heat, the momentum, the drive that inspires late nights and big dreams. Aries Snake belongs at the helm, designing the structure, writing the contracts, overseeing operations, and predicting risk before it arrives. She keeps the machine moving, the finances sharp, and the strategies 3 years ahead of the market. Her ability to navigate complex negotiations, spot red flags in people, and deliver long-term results is invaluable. When they stop fighting over who leads and start focusing on how they lead together, their partnership becomes something rare, a fusion of charisma and calculation, flair and foresight, vision and execution. She keeps his feet on the ground. He reminds her to look up once in a while. What sets their success apart is the friction itself. The tension between their styles doesn't weaken them, it sharpens them. She asks, "What's the risk?" He asks, "What's the opportunity?" She pulls back when things are moving too fast. He pushes forward when things are stuck. And if they can stay emotionally mature through disagreement, if they debate without ego and listen without defensiveness, they create a culture of innovation and excellence. In practical terms, this means defining roles early and clearly. No blurred lines. Leo handles all public-facing responsibilities: branding, marketing, public relations, community building, morale. Aries oversees operations, financials, legal structure, hiring, strategic scaling, systems. They meet in the middle for vision, mission, and major moves, but day to day, each has the freedom to operate without micromanagement. It also means building in mechanisms for healthy conflict. Weekly check-ins, candid feedback, no sugarcoating. Aries needs to feel heard even if she's not loud. Leo needs to feel appreciated even if he's already confident. When these needs are honored, their partnership doesn't just function, it thrives. Let's not forget, both are natural leaders. They attract people, build teams, inspire loyalty. Their business isn't just productive, it has a culture, a vibe. People want to work with them because they make success feel exciting. Their meetings are electric, their product launches, buzzworthy, their failures, rare, and always learned from. And when they really get going, they're not just successful, they're disruptive. They don't copy others, they invent their own category. Whether it's fashion, tech, media, wellness, or finance, they don't blend in. They rise fast. But perhaps the greatest strength of this duo in business is this: they grow each other. Leo learns restraint, Aries learns risk. He starts thinking long-term, she starts playing bigger. Together, they transform not just their business, but themselves. So yes, Aries Snake and Leo Horse can absolutely build an empire. The only question is, can they stop trying to run it alone? Because when they realize they're better together, nothing can stop them. Dark sides, what lurks beneath? Let's not kid ourselves. The connection between Aries Snake and Leo Horse may burn bright, but it casts long shadows. And when those shadows emerge, they don't creep, they cut. These two signs have powerful personalities, and when their light is dimmed by fear, ego, or betrayal, their darker instincts don't just come out, they take over. What once looked like a passionate match can mutate into a battlefield of egos, silent punishments, and psychological warfare. Because beneath their charm and chemistry is something few people see coming: the capacity to destroy, emotionally, mentally, even reputationally. The Aries Snake, when provoked, doesn't lash out with fire. She coils back, she calculates. Her dark side is never obvious. It's subtle, strategic, and deeply unnerving. When she's hurt, she doesn't scream. She watches. She documents every misstep, every word, every contradiction. Her silence is not peace, it's processing. And when she strikes back, it's never sloppy. It's precise. Whether it's a cold withdrawal of affection or a well-timed revelation that ruins your credibility, she plays the long game. She doesn't want to win the argument, she wants to own the outcome. What makes this dangerous is that Aries Snake doesn't always separate conflict from identity. If she feels disrespected or emotionally cornered, she may not see the disagreement as a moment, she may see it as a threat to her very power. And in response, her mind shifts from dialogue to domination. She'll test boundaries, create emotional confusion, and make her partner question their own narrative. It's not cruelty, it's defense. But in that defense, she becomes someone capable of extraordinary emotional manipulation. Leo Horse's dark side is a completely different beast, but no less destructive. He doesn't retreat, he explodes. When insecure, the Leo Horse doesn't look inward. He projects. He becomes boastful, aggressive, and emotionally demanding. Suddenly, everything becomes about him: his pain, his loyalty, his effort. He needs applause not just for doing well but for surviving discomfort. And if his ego takes a hit, he turns into a one-man PR campaign, making sure everyone knows how he's been wronged, overlooked, or betrayed. When Leo's shadow is in full force, he can become emotionally volatile. He interrupts, he dismisses, he needs to be right. He doesn't just want to win the fight, he wants a standing ovation for surviving it. And in doing so, he may trample over the feelings of his partner, making the conflict about his experience, while invalidating the pain on the other side. Now, when these two dark sides collide, things get ugly. Aries Snake's cold manipulation meets Leo Horse's emotional grandstanding. She freezes, he flames, she withholds, he escalates. Neither backs down, neither apologizes first. Both believe they're justified, and worse, both are, in their own way. That's the cruel irony. Each one has just enough logic to defend their actions, even as the relationship begins to erode from within. Disagreements don't stay small, they evolve into contests of dominance. A missed text becomes a silent punishment. A misunderstood comment becomes a full-blown attack on character. There's no middle ground, just two brilliant minds trying to outmaneuver each other emotionally. And because they're both highly intelligent and emotionally perceptive, they know exactly where to strike. Leo knows how to humiliate her publicly, with charm, sarcasm, or just sheer volume. Aries knows how to unnerve him privately, with silence, withdrawal, or calculated truths that hit harder than any insult. She doesn't yell, she just disappears. He doesn't leave, he just makes her feel small. Worse still, they attract spectators. Friends, family, co-workers, they all see the fallout. Because Leo doesn't suffer in silence. And Aries, while secretive, has a way of making her unhappiness known through icy detachment or perfectly timed disengagement. Eventually, people start picking sides. And what was once a private disagreement becomes a performance of public dysfunction. This kind of toxicity doesn't show up immediately. It builds slowly, over months, years, moments of neglect and unmet needs. And when it erupts, it's because they've stopped seeing each other as partners and started seeing each other as threats. There is no love in war. And when Aries Snake and Leo Horse are at war, they go nuclear. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Their shadows are often rooted in fear. Aries Snake manipulates because she's afraid of losing control, of being seen as weak. Leo Horse demands attention because he's afraid of being invisible, of being unloved without applause. Their worst behaviors are often cries for validation, hidden under layers of ego and strategy. If they don't confront these patterns, if they don't own their shadows, they will burn everything down, including each other. No amount of chemistry, history, or shared success can survive unchecked emotional warfare. And the tragedy is, their love could have been legendary. But without maturity, that love becomes mythical only in the sense that it no longer exists. However, and this is the saving grace, when they do confront their darkness, when they name it, share it, and make space for each other's pain, healing is possible. Aries can learn that vulnerability isn't a loss of power. Leo can learn that humility isn't a threat to pride. If they choose honesty over ego, growth over revenge, they can rise again, not as enemies locked in power struggles, but as allies stronger for having walked through the fire. But first, they have to stop using their brilliance to hurt each other. Because what lurks beneath, if left unspoken, doesn't just damage the relationship. It destroys it. Life goals, similar visions, different speeds. At first glance, it looks like Aries Snake and Leo Horse are running in the same direction, both bold, ambitious, and seemingly unstoppable. They talk about the same dreams, owning their own businesses, creating meaningful impact, living a life of freedom and status, leaving behind more than just a paycheck. Their vision boards probably have the same images, penthouses, passport stamps, awards, and headlines. But watch closely, and you'll see that while their dreams overlap, their timelines and methods are on wildly different settings. And that misalignment? It's either a growth curve, or a slow burn disaster. Leo Horse doesn't just want success, he wants it fast. There's a sense of urgency in everything he does. He wants results now, recognition today, and the reward before the sweat has even dried. He's not lazy, far from it. He's hyper-motivated, but wired to chase energy over structure. His dreams come wrapped in bright lights, public praise, and that VIP access to life. He imagines standing ovations, magazine covers, and spontaneous celebrations of his genius. And he wants all of it while the fire's still hot. Aries Snake also dreams of greatness, but hers comes with a blueprint, not a burst. She's not chasing moments, she's crafting movements. Her goals aren't loud, but they run deep. She's thinking in decades, not quarters. Legacy, not limelight. She'll delay gratification for years if it means the foundation she's building can withstand time, criticism, and even failure. Her path is structured, meticulous, and heavily protected from chaos, because for her, control is security. This creates a dynamic tension between them. Leo looks at Aries and wonders, why wait? He sees her caution as hesitation. He interprets her calculated steps as fear. Meanwhile, Aries looks at Leo and thinks, why rush? She sees his urgency as recklessness, his obsession with visibility as shallow. They're both right, and both missing the point. Because here's the deeper truth. They're chasing the same horizon. They just want to get there differently. Leo wants to leap, Aries wants to map. He thrives on risk, she thrives on pattern. And unless they learn to respect those differences, they'll start tripping over each other's dreams, and resenting the fallout. Leo, in his drive to make things happen now, might pressure Aries to move before she's ready. He might say yes to deals that aren't fully cooked, or launch projects without systems in place. Aries, watching from her analytical perch, will see the cracks forming before the applause even starts. And when things go wrong, as they sometimes do, she won't say, "I told you so," but her silence will say it louder. This is where he starts feeling undermined, unappreciated, even unsupported. Meanwhile, Aries might spend too long in planning mode, perfecting, waiting, strategizing, and Leo, with all his energy and impatience, will begin to feel caged. Like the dream is always just one more revision away. He'll interpret her diligence as a refusal to believe in him, as if she trusts systems more than she trusts his vision. That's where her structure becomes, in his eyes, a prison. If this emotional gap widens, their shared goals become battlegrounds instead of blueprints. Every discussion turns into a negotiation. Every milestone becomes a debate about how it should have happened. They lose energy not in the chase for success, but in the argument over how to chase it. And eventually, if not addressed, one of them checks out. Aries retreats into her solo mission. Leo moves on to someone who shares his pace. But if, and this is a powerful if, they recognize that their differences aren't threats but assets, they become the kind of couple that others write articles about. Because the reality is, Aries Snake has exactly what Leo Horse lacks: patience, long-term vision, a quiet command of complexity. She can spot potential failure a mile away and knows how to steer around it before anyone else sees the danger. She's not slow, she's deliberate. She's not afraid, she's prepared. And Leo Horse? He brings the energy that Aries doesn't naturally generate on her own. He brings the urgency, the bold action, the charm that cuts through red tape. He takes ideas out of the planning stage and drops them into the real world, often with dazzling effect. He's not impulsive for the sake of chaos, he's courageous in the face of delay. When they trust each other's gifts, magic happens. Aries gives Leo the stability and precision that sharpens his fire into a focused beam instead of a wildfire. Leo gives Aries the confidence and momentum to act faster, trust the process less, and live in the risk instead of managing it away. They must learn to negotiate timelines. Aries might need to accept that sometimes now is better than perfect. Leo might need to learn that later doesn't mean never, it means better. When they align on purpose, not just tactics, they can build something few couples can: a shared legacy that's thrilling and sustainable. They become visionaries who don't just dream big, they execute big. He launches, she scales. He motivates, she optimizes. He connects, she protects. Their union becomes the perfect blend of motion and method. But this only works with deep, ongoing communication. They need regular goal checks, not just logistics but emotional alignment. What are we building? Why are we building it? What's the timeline? And how does it serve both of us? This transparency creates mutual trust, and from trust comes expansion. In the end, Aries Snake and Leo Horse do share a powerful truth: neither wants a mediocre life. They're not content with just okay. They both want to leave a mark, create legacy, and live in bold color. They just need to agree on how they get there, and when. If they do, they're not just a couple chasing dreams. They are the dream. Final thoughts. Soulmates or survivors? Aries Snake and Leo Horse aren't your picture-perfect, rom-com couple. Their relationship doesn't follow a linear arc with easy-to-read emotions or smooth transitions from spark to stability. It's a tango of friction and fascination, a high-wire act suspended between chaos and chemistry. They don't fall in love, they collide. And in that collision lies the big question that defines their dynamic: will they elevate each other into greatness, or exhaust each other into silence? Because here's the truth: their union is never neutral. It's charged. It either transforms or consumes. And while that might sound poetic, in real life, it's a lot of work. They aren't made for each other in the usual way. This isn't a comfortable match built on shared interests and predictable harmony. No, this is a trial by fire. The kind of pairing that demands each person look in the mirror and decide, daily, whether to fight for connection or defend their individuality. It's not always romantic, but it's real. And real is rare. Aries Snake brings the mystique, the intellect, the composure that Leo Horse secretly craves. She's magnetic not because she tries to be, but because she doesn't. Her love is earned, not handed out. Her mind is sharp, her emotions measured, her loyalty fierce. But her standards are high, and when she feels unsafe, emotionally, psychologically, she retreats without explanation. She doesn't fight openly, she protects, distances, and, if necessary, disappears. Leo Horse, in contrast, loves out loud. He's expressive, generous, passionate to a fault. He doesn't play hard to get, he is hard to forget. His energy fills the room. His love language is fireworks. But beneath the showmanship lies a deep need to be seen, truly, fully seen. He's bold on the outside but tender at the core. And when he feels dismissed or unappreciated, his roar becomes resentment. He demands loyalty but often forgets to offer the same stability he craves. So what happens when these two share a life? They push each other, constantly. They awaken dormant parts of each other, sometimes by force, sometimes by accident. Aries challenges Leo to be smarter, more disciplined, more thoughtful. Leo challenges Aries to be freer, more vulnerable, more emotionally present. And when they're in sync, this challenge turns into evolution. They don't just love, they level up. Together, they become more dynamic than they ever could alone. But that same energy, unchecked, can implode. Because passion without trust becomes drama. Intelligence without empathy becomes manipulation. Confidence without humility becomes cruelty. And when they stop listening, really listening, they don't just grow apart, they become opponents in a war no one wins. They're both strong, yes. But strength doesn't always equal success in love. Especially not here. The real test isn't how hot their chemistry burns, it's how safe they make each other feel when the fire cools. It's whether Aries can learn to speak before withdrawing, and whether Leo can hear truth without collapsing into ego. It's whether she can say, "I need space," and he doesn't take it as rejection. It's whether he can say, "I need reassurance," and she doesn't roll her eyes. It's about mutual maturity, emotional accountability, not just emotional intensity. If they reach that place, the potential is jaw-dropping. They can become that rare couple who owns the boardroom and the bedroom. The kind who hosts unforgettable dinners, raises fearless children, launches empires. The kind people admire from afar and say, "How do they do it?" Because when they're in rhythm, they're unstoppable, brains and bravery, charm and control, heat and composure. They build not just a love story but a legacy. But if they don't evolve, if they stay trapped in their worst patterns, letting pride speak louder than love, they burn out. Fast and hard. And the tragedy is, they'll never forget each other, even if they part ways. Because this kind of connection doesn't dissolve quietly. It lingers, it echoes, it becomes the "what if" they measure future relationships against. A benchmark of intensity and complexity that few will ever match. So are they soulmates? Maybe, if they do the work, if they let go of needing to win, if they choose growth over ego, if they treat each other not as puzzles to solve or flames to control, but as partners in the beautiful, terrifying journey of being seen. Or are they survivors? They might be, if they refuse to adapt, if they stay addicted to their own ways of doing things, if they forget that love isn't a game, and passion isn't a substitute for peace. Because some stars don't burn out, they explode. And some couples don't drift apart, they shatter. So, soulmates or survivors? In the case of Aries Snake and Leo Horse, it's simple. They get to choose, every day, with every word, every silence, every act of courage or every surrender to fear. That's the gift, and the burden, of a love this intense. It can either light up the sky, or leave ashes where a galaxy could have been. Thanks for sticking with this deep dive into cosmic chemistry. Want more zodiac breakdowns like this? Hit that like button, subscribe for weekly videos, and check the links below for playlists on love compatibility, Chinese zodiac dynamics, and fiery relationships decoded. See you in the next one, where we'll uncover more truths the stars tried to hide.